Again guys, welcome back to a very special episode, as today we are on the hunt again for platinums, but this time I am joined by PS2 Many Games. So of course I'm going to be looking for PS1 platinums, he's going to be looking for PS2 platinums.
Hopefully.
Let's hope for some good luck.
We're going to need it.
Again folks, and welcome back to the PlayStation Platinum Project. My challenge for 2023 to try and add all 160 power release PlayStation 1 Platinum games. And in this episode we are joined by a very special guest, PS2 Many Games, and he as well is on an adventure to try and collect not just a complete PlayStation 2 PAL collection, but also every single PlayStation 2 Platinum game. And today he is joining me on a Platinum hunt. In today's episode, we are heading to multiple towns and cities here in the east of England on our hunt for Platinum games. And I'm hoping we can both cross a few games off our lists. Let's head out on the Platinum hunt. But before we head out Platinum hunting, I just want to remind you folks, if you enjoyed this video, to hit that like button and subscribe, as I put new episodes out every Saturday night at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. And if you have missed any of the previous episodes of the PlayStation Platinum Project, I'll be linking those episodes in the description down below. Here we go then, starting a full day of platinum hunting at 9 AM in the small town of Attleborough. And straight away we are finding some video games, but some of these are pretty highly priced, like Minecraft Story Mode. I think that's a pretty high price, which is a shame, as that one might have traded in pretty well in CX. Heading onto the shelves here, one of the greatest PC games of all time, Black and White. Let me know in the comments down below if you played this one back in the day. But of course today we are looking for platinum games, and here we have our first of the day. It is The Sims 2 for the PlayStation 2, but the £5 price tag does seem pretty high. But here is the thing, if you are looking for platinum games, sometimes you have to take what you can get, especially when going for a full set, because with some of these games you never know when you're going to see them again, but with more common games normally you can pass. Next up, we are heading to Omega's Emporium, and you may recognise this independent game store from earlier in this series of the PlayStation Platinum Project. So I was able to visit this store just before it opened earlier in the year, and they've been open for a few months now, are really starting to establish themselves as one of the best retro game stores in the area. And obviously, as they've been open a little bit longer now, they have got a lot more stock in. So I'm really hoping for both some platinum games for the PlayStation 2 for my good friend here, and also we can find some PS1 games for my collection. So here we have the PlayStation 1 selection, and you can see it's mainly Black Label, which for most people would be a good thing, but of course today I'm looking for platinum games for the PlayStation Platinum Project. And I'm telling you what, this is going to be the theme of this episode. Since I've got past the halfway point on these platinum games, it is getting harder and harder to find any games that I need, and it's also getting harder and harder to remember what I had. Like, I thought I had this game here, Pandemonium. I think it's because I actually bought it quite recently on Black Label and kind of confused myself that I already had this for the PlayStation Platinum Project. Yes, I know I should check the list, and no, unfortunately I didn't. You may think the store looks a little bit disorganised in this corner, but that is for a good reason. Recently, the owner of this store bought a massive house clearance, and they have some absolutely amazing stuff in store at the moment. I am focusing on the PlayStation Platinum games today, so stay tuned for that episode coming very soon. There is some crazy stuff in this store. And speaking of crazy, here is one of the craziest games that I still need for the PlayStation Platinum Project, and I have decided this is probably going to be the very last game I buy for the PlayStation Platinum Project. That's because it is one of the most expensive, with a crazy price tag of around £70. Next stop on today's Platinum Hunt is CEX in Thetford, and I visited this store in the crazy world of CEX episode 2, and they usually have some really good stuff in store here, even though looking in the window it looks very, very uneventful. But straight to the PlayStation 1 section, and what do we have here? The second copy today of Silent Hill on Platinum for the PS1. I think quite confidently I can leave this game till last to pick up for the PlayStation Platinum Project. Even though it has a £70 price tag, it is strangely a very common game. Now it's the PS2 section to check how PS2 Many Games is getting on, and There's definitely a lot more games to check here, but here is one of the issues. When you buy Platinum PlayStation 2 games in CEX, you have no idea if they're going to have the correct Platinum disc. And also, even worse, you cannot check to see if a game is Platinum on the CEX app. You have to go in store and check them for yourself. So here we have 007 Quantum of Solace. It's a fairly cheap game, but here lies another problem in going for the complete PlayStation 2 Platinum collection. There is hundreds of games, like so many more than there is for the PlayStation 1 Platinum project, but it does make them a little bit easier to find just because there's so many. And yeah, look how many games, PS2 many games has managed to pick up in just this one CEX store. It's pretty crazy.
I know what you're going for. See Platinums.
So thankfully PS2 Mini Games did have a little bit more luck than myself in CEX here in Thetford. He managed to pick up quite a few PlayStation 2 games for his Platinum collection. But again, herein lies the problem. He has to take these to the counter and then see if they have the matching PlayStation 2 Platinum disc. And here's a weird thing. Why is the disc for Devil May Cry in here? Unfortunately, it's not the Platinum disc, but why have CX got games in the boxes on the shelf? So here we have Clock Tower. I'm presuming this is going to be empty. Yes, thankfully this is empty, otherwise I think it may have been stolen at some point. Then we're checking this Medal of Honor game, and it does have the Platinum disc inside. I have never seen this in any CEX store, them keeping the discs in the games. So we had a bit of a theory. We were wondering if this particular CEX store was keeping their discs in there for games under £5. And it looks to be correct, which has absolutely blown my mind. I guess just with the absolute number of cheap, low-value PlayStation 2 games they have, they just take the risk. Next up on our Platinum hunting road trip, we're in Ipswich, and this is one of the best pawn shops I've ever been to. They just have so much retro gaming stuff. It's absolutely crazy. Like, you're going to somewhere like Cash Converter to see one or two things. This is one of 3 massive cabinets. And these are just consoles. They have stacks of games. Again, I'm going to be coming back in a future game hunting episode to this store. Today we are focusing, of course, on the PlayStation Platinum games. And these are all mixed in with the other PS1 games they have. And they have a pretty good selection. And more importantly, these are a pretty good price. Now you can see here, there's some really cheap games. Yes, some of these are like FIFA games. But we are, of course, looking for Platinum games. And I'm finding some Platinum games, but the problem is these are all games I already have for the PlayStation Platinum project. And this is like what I said earlier in today's episode. It is getting harder to find these. Now I am past the halfway point. I have most of these games. Like, there is some absolutely fantastic games here. You saw like Gran Turismo, another one here, Tomorrow Never Dies. Unfortunately, I have these. I'm checking this one a little bit more because it's the other Bond Platinum game that I do need. So I did nearly pick that one up, but thankfully this time I did check the list. Nothing against this store at all, as they had some amazing Platinum games, but nothing I needed. Literally a few doors down the road is the local CEX store here in Ipswich, and again, a decent selection of games, but unfortunately nothing I need for the PlayStation Platinum project. Like you can see here, Spyro the Dragon, Crash Bandicoot, some absolute classics, some other really good stuff here as well, some really good GameCube games, but unfortunately nothing we are looking for today, and it's not looking good so far. If you would like to see more of this CX store and tons of others, check out episode 6 of The Crazy World of CX. I'll leave a link in the description below for the entire series of The Crazy World of CX.
Hey, you got 10 times the subs. Stop knowing.
But none of the luck. No trip to Ipswich would be complete without a trip to the retro realm. Owned and run by Sega Zombie of YouTube infamously, this is one of my favourite independent stores in this area of the country. They have absolutely everything, including a massive PlayStation 2 section, and as you can see here, a pretty sizable PlayStation 2 Platinum section. But let's check out the PlayStation 1 section, see if I'm going to have any luck here, and if for the first time today I can find a game I need for the PlayStation Platinum project. And unfortunately, again, an amazing selection of games, but nothing I need for the PlayStation Platinum project. Unfortunately then, I had no luck finding any Platinum PlayStation 1 games today, but check out the absolutely amazing selection of Black Label PS1 games here in the retro realm. I know for a vast majority of the people watching this episode, you're probably still looking for Black Label games in opposed to Platinum game, including some cheap bangers, more of your kind of normal kind of price games, the £10-20 games, and then hiding in the glass cabinets of dreams were of course some of the big money titles. But yeah, a fantastic PS1 selection here. Let's check in with PS2 Many Games and see if he is having any more luck on his Platinum hunt today. And you can see he is pulling out a game here he has been looking for a very long while. It is Jack Free for the PlayStation 2. It has the Platinum case, it has the Platinum disc, and this is a really good one to cross off the list. And I am amazed that this is a franchise that hasn't made a comeback. It was one of my favourite kind of platform games from the PS2 era, and here it lives on in its Platinum form. Our final stop this time is the town of Felixstowe, and we have one last opportunity to find some Platinum games here in the local CEX store. It may be a small store, but let's hope for a last minute Platinum find. We go then, the glass cabinet of dreams, and our final chance to try and find some PlayStation Platinum games, this time on the PlayStation Platinum project. And it's looking good so far. There's some big, heavy hitters here. We've got some really, really nice PS2 games, or PS2 mini games, some SNES games, some GameCube games. For a small CEX store, this place has a surprisingly good selection of retro, but of course what we are looking for is PlayStation Platinum games, and I've just got my fingers crossed that we can find something that we need on the list in this, the very final store this time. As I've said all episode, it is getting harder and harder to find these games, and unfortunately it doesn't look like our luck is going to change here on the final store, which is a real shame. But at the end of the day, I had a great time game hunting with PS2 Many Games. There is another episode coming up very soon showing our entire game hunt, not just the Platinum games, but you can see here PS2 Many Games did manage to pick up 5 games for his collection, and at the end of the day, we had an absolutely amazing time. But I am not going to end this episode on a downer. We're going to head back to the games room and end on a high. Here we are then, back in the games room, and on paper, from a game pickup point of view, today was somewhat of a failure. But at the end of the day, the PlayStation Platinum project is all about the journey, not the location. We may not have added any games today on that game hunt, but I have got a video coming in the future of some of the other pickups from today's game hunt, and I picked up some amazing stuff. No PlayStation Platinum games, but trust me, stay tuned for that future game hunting episode. I said then I did not want to end this episode on a low. I wanted to end it on a high. And we have one pickup. And in theory, this is one of the most important pickups of the entire PlayStation Platinum project. It is not only one of my favourite PlayStation games of all time, it is in my top 5, I would say, video games of all time. And I managed to pick this one up off eBay for an absolute steal. It is, of course, one of the most iconic games from the PlayStation 1, Resident Evil 2, one of my favourite games of all time, and in absolutely incredible condition. This is boxed and complete with both discs, and I got this for an absolute steal. Here is this copy of Resident Evil 2 then, that, like I said, I got for an absolute steal off eBay using a very simple technique which I use all the time. Essentially, I go to newly listed items, specifically ones with best offer or buy it now, and I will lowball. And 1 in 10 times this will work. This was up, I think, for £25, which is the selling price for this game in CEX. I offered £15 and the seller accepted. I managed to save £10 on one of my most wanted games for the PlayStation Platinum project. I see this game all the time. It's a fairly common one, but to be able to get this one for £10 cheaper than the CX price is an absolute win, and the high I needed to end this episode on. In the last episode of the PlayStation Platinum project, we added 17 games to our list, ending on 97. This time we may have only added one and crossed one more game off that list, but it takes us to 98 out of 160. And of course, there's only one thing left to do this episode: add it to the shelf and cross it off the list. Today's episode then was definitely a case of quality over quantity. One of my most wanted games crossed off the list for the PlayStation Platinum project, and one step further to the full collection. This is normally the part of the video when I would load up the PlayStation 1 and jump into some footage of me playing through a classic PlayStation 1 title. But with Resident Evil 2, when I start playing, I am putting it down, and I don't want this video to be 8 hours of me playing PlayStation 1. So, without further ado, I'm going to thank you for watching, remind you to like and subscribe, and remember, until next time on the PlayStation Platinum project, let the games begin. See you all soon!